Have a look at my bard build. Oh, no, you linked it to me on Discord. That's why. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. All right. There we go. But yes. Has this been updated? It looks like this looks literally exactly the same. Unless I'm going crazy. Oh no, never mind. It has the new Epic Destinies. Okay. It does have the new Epic Destinies. Okay. It's just the same format. I gotcha. Okay. I like that you include the weapon stats. Because you've got the buffed. Okay, so, hello everybody, welcome to build review. Today we're reviewing Mesmerita's Purple Dragon Knight Spellsinger for Cormier build. Now, for those of you that don't know, for Cormier is a spell effect that comes from the Epic Destiny, not Epic Destiny, the enhancement tree. Here, it's this button. And what it does is, when you press it, it grants all nearby allies a bonus to their attack and damage equal to your charisma modifier. So if your charisma modifier is 152, that means you had 52 damage to all of your allies. And 52 damage, 52 deadly, is unbelievable. It is one of the best buffs you can get in the entire game, so it is extremely good. And on top of that, you can also pair this with actual good bard effects to increase your effectiveness of the build. Now, the way that you do it is, as detailed here, is that you use the rose-colored goggles. So the For Cormier only gives these buffs when you're at low health. So what you do is you put on the rose-colored goggles and take them off. It puts your health at 20% of what it's supposed to be. And then when you take it off, you're back to full, but your health is almost empty. So when you press For Cormier, it gives you all of the stats back. The problem is you have to be really careful, because sometimes you'll have people in your party that when you do this, they will see your health go down and they will heal you, causing you to waste your For Cormier. So if you are a For Cormier build, you should tell your healers when you play in groups like that and hope that they're not going to ruin your ability, because if you ruin it, it takes your charge and you can't do anything with it at all, and you're just kind of stuck like that, which is very common, actually. So just keep that in mind. So got lots of big numbers here. Got like a billion charisma, which is kind of neat. Look at all these stats and buffs. Lots of things. And there's, you can see the effect of For Cormier here. So it's granting 51 somehow. Something granting 51, so I don't know how that's happening. But yeah, 51 bonus stats. So I'm assuming that this picture was probably not taken with the full buffs. Probably. So that's pretty cool. And you can see the breakdown of some of the different buff stats here. So we'll look at the actual build first, and then we'll come back up to look at the stats. So for feats, empower and quick spell. Oh, this build is a ultra completionist, so you can't play this unless you have every past life in the game. So don't try this until you have every past life in the video game. Keep that in mind. But empower, healing, quicken, completionist, pretty cool. Heighten, past life wizard, improve bardic music. I don't generally want to take that, but if you're going for buffing people, it just makes sense. Spell focus evocation, greater spell focus evocation, and epic spell focus evocation. So you can take the enchant, so you can have evocation and enchant DCs, which makes sense for the next update. So you've got all the evocation and everything else. You can use greater shout as well as sound burst for crowd controlling things. I don't know why you take tactician, but I'm sure that will become obvious soon. Because I'll be curious for that. I'm assuming it's for the melee freeze. Also, 93 root points is quite a few. So grabbing all the stuff in Dire Thaumaturge and also the tactics DCs. And then out of here, you've got the War Chanter freeze. This character also goes tier 5 of the War Chanter tree. Now this might seem kind of confusing. Why would you go tier 5 of War Chanter? And the reason is because this effect right here gives you plus 6% to all of your spell, or like all allies damage. And that is the highest scaling effect in the whole video game. And so there's no better way to get this. So you kind of have to go up here, and then you go 41 in Spellsinger for the Wail of the Banshee, as well as the extra Charisma and Spell DCs. And that's why you need all of the points, because you actually need the Purple Dragon Knight. So you need this. So you need to spend the 19 points that it is in here to be able to take everything that you want. So keep that in mind. Yeah. And then, yeah, you can see the DCs here. So Necromancy, 97. Which is like still pretty good. Enchantment 100, Evocation 111, all of which is pretty good. Burst of Glacial Wrath 115 because it's got Bards cap out at 6th level spells, so you 16 base DC. Burst of Glacial Wrath is 20, so it's an extra 4. This build is running Consecrate. That's kind of cool. unexpected. So you got Consecrate with your DCs, Frozen Fury 108, and Cut the Strings. Cut the Strings, even though it says 104, it works a lot, and it will do very, very good damage. So, or not, it'll still like do good damage and be effective in that capacity. So this way, you get pretty much all the buffs out of War Chanter. You get like all the extra attack buffs, all the extra damage buffs. You get the double your charisma applying as temporary hit points to everybody that's nearby you, which is kind of cool. And you've also got the medium armor here on this build, so you got that built in there as well. Depending on what items you're going to be looking at, you may want light or medium armor, but for this build, I'm assuming it's going to be medium. That's why you took that. And then, of course, out of Spellsinger, just taking pretty much everything you can that's good to get up to here. Sharp Note for some extra damage if you want to cast Fascinate. You can't tumble cast Fascinate for Sharp Note. Just keep that in mind. You have to let the whole Fascinate play out. Right now with Bards, it's usually not recommended, just because if you're going into a boss phase, Cut the Strings is going to do more damage anyway if you're trying to actually deal damage to bosses. So versus Cut the Strings, it's pretty much always better. I find Cut the Strings is really hard to justify using right now, because there's so many better things you can be doing than adding +3 damage to people. But if it's before the boss phase starts, this isn't that bad. But once the boss phase is started, you don't want to press that anymore. And then Epic Testing Points, you got Divine Crusader going for the stun from Divine Crusader on top of the Consecration. There's also using the Primal Avatar Mantle, because the Primal Avatar Mantle is quite strong, I think. You use the Mantle? Yeah, it looks like it. You definitely want to put more points in the Primal Avatar Mantle, because this goes from a D6 to a D6 plus 6 when you have the full Mantle. So the extra amount of damage and other effects you get is massive. But I'm assuming once you get more points, you'll probably do that as well. There's that. It's not for damage? Why not? It's basically free damage on this build. But there's that. The reason why I recommend it is because even still, it's a D6 plus 6. So if you cast any spells on any monsters, you're going to be hitting them for like an extra 3,000 to 4,000, which is just convenient, unless you don't interact with the monsters at all. So then that would also make it difficult. If you never interact with the monsters, then you probably won't see that much. And then you got lots of skills. You got some Sonic and some positive spell power. These are okay. The positive is good because this is going to work on that new shouting effect, assuming you cast shouts. But I don't know what the spell list is. I don't think the spells are here, or really the place, like how you're supposed to play. But I have the buffs, so yeah. Unless I'm missing something. Got items, starting sets, a few levels, and then this is a video. Sing song. I don't have license to play this. So what spells are you casting? There's R1 and Elite, and you got a whole party. Oh, it's all your guys, all your boys. You're buffing up, you're buffing. So you're getting everybody buffed up with stats. And then you can watch them destroying the Sphinx here with their little meager amounts of damage. It's funny how often they miss because they don't have the attack chance to actually hit the Sphinx, even with the 4 Cormier buff, which is very, very entertaining because that's just how that works. Because you can hit, but yeah, the animated Scarecrow is just tremendously bad. Okay. What spells do you actually use? I would assume you're using Greater Shout. Let me just go see here. Maybe there's a screenshot that I can take a look at. Yeah, so you've got Whale. You've got some of the shouts down here. They're kind of covered up by the sound burst. But you got sound burst here. And Whale. Burst of Glacial Wrath is probably around here. Oh yeah, there's Burst of Glacial Wrath down here. So I'm assuming what's covered up here is probably your thing that you're using. So I can't really see it, so that makes it kind of difficult. But there's spells in here that you probably are using. So like, Sound Burst, I'm assuming. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see. But yeah, Shout and Greater Shout, especially with some of the new effects that we're going to be getting. And then, of course, you have the effects. So the Salt Pearl Ring giving extra stats. Oh, I didn't look at the gear yet. Splendid Cacophony, Salt Pearl Ring is all good there for the extra little bit of stance. So plus 15 attack, 13 damage, and 27 universal spell power. And then, of course, plus 3 damage using Fascinate. And then, of course, that's on top of the 4 Cormier because it all stacks. Does Brood Center get a different animation? No, it does not. And then Inspire Greatness gives you a lot of defenses, and then Inspire Transcendence, and then the Inspiration, you have the skills and everything else. So you pretty much have every buff in the entire video game, which is very, very cool. So it's a neat build. And then, yeah, so you're using Attunement's Gaze. What's our armor set? Less investment set. Oh, and then you've got the Hallowed Trail, and then also the Bracers, the Castigators. Those are really, really good. It's super defensive. Constellation, plus Alchemical Sword with Devotion, Charisma, and Radiance. Okie doke. And then it looks like you're using 3-piece Winter set. So Icon of the Bitterwind, Deep Snow, and Nocturne. Oh, and Winter Court, so it's 4-piece right there. Unbreakable Stormreach Guardian with Reaper stats. I also have one of those. That one's fun. Yeah, I have one of these. A Unbreakable Stormreach Guardian with Reaper stats. That's the Constitution one that also has Fortification and Vitality on it. So it's a fun one. And Perfected Soul Pearl Ring. Planning on getting, but I plan on getting a second. Yeah, you'll be able to get a Perfected Ring really easily. Ring 1 and Ring 2. I don't see the difference between these two rings. Oh, one has Eye of the Beholder and autos, and the other one has Splendid Cacophony instead. Which makes sense, depending on what it is you're looking at. Whether you're buffing people or doing more damage. Sweet. And then your starting stats, and then you have all of the things here. So what you take at each level. And then I think it's just missing the spells. Oh no, the spells are here. So you have the spells. Oh, this is all old stuff? Okay. Still, overall, it's pretty cool. I will say that the the build obviously works really, really well. Especially at, like, crowd controlling and helping out your team. Obviously, missing out on Mass Hold can feel kind of bad, but Greater Shout gets a lot of that work done, and Burst of Glacial Wrath gets a ton of that work done. It's just hard when you're not working off of a will save. But does Divine Crusader, is that a will save? Divine Crusader, what is this? Fortitude save. It's also a Fortitude save. Yeah, not having a will save based crowd control is kind of annoying sometimes. But as I said, once you get the extra healing effect here, you'll be able to heal people really well too. And you have a good amount of spell points. You've got 37. So you won't have to worry too much about the actual costs. You have all your enchant spells? Well, you don't really. You have, like, Auto's Irresistible, which is kind of cool, but on higher Reaper difficulties, it'll last for, like, 1 second. This one doesn't have a save, and you have single target hold monster. So you can hold one thing. Versus, like, multiple things. I mean, I guess the dazes technically count. So, like, hypnotism and stuff. So a lot of people do use hypnotism sometimes. Although usually just only as, like, a primer. But I can't imagine that coming in handy for most cases. It's sometimes nice. That's one of the reasons why when I did the spell tier list for Bard, I didn't rate hypnotism that poorly, because it has some value. And then, of course, Cut the Strings is very, very good. But yeah. Again, it's one of the benefits of Mass Hold. But the difference is, this build, the sacrifice that you get for having that little bit is that you have more damage. This is definitely a character that's extremely good in raids, and also good for just smashing out any type of boss that you have. The second you get to a boss, this character is unbelievable, because it increases the damage of everyone else in the party by a huge margin. I can't think of any major ways that I would change this build, because it looks pretty good overall. And you've put a ton of work into it. And you even have the stuff about taking medium armor proficiency and then swapping it back once you get the points later, which makes sense. Okay, cool. I don't know why that was coming through. That's very sick. Sometimes my phone will, like, take the calls on the PC, which I don't like. I have it set to never do that. And yet it does, which is fun. I think on R10, I use it for Despairs. Yeah, it's not that bad. So overall, very cool build. I hope this works well for you, because obviously you put a ton of work into it, getting the Racial Completionist completed, because Racial Completionist is massive. And also having 3,000 hit points. This is another big thing about this build, is you have 3,000 life, which is a lot, because you've got the 80 Constitution here. I do not have that many hit points, so that is huge. Huge, huge, huge. This is massive. So yeah. They have like 4? Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else I would think of. Because like the problem with item sets is making one change to an item set literally ruins everything. The only difference I would make is obviously, so Broken Blade of Constellation is what you have here. When the expansion releases, replace Broken Blade of Constellation with a Dino Bone weapon that has either Ash or Freeze or Dust or anything like that. Pretty much any Legendary Green Steel effect, because then you'll have Legendary Green Steel effect, and also you get to keep everything. Because the Broken Blade of Constellation doesn't really matter that much, but what does matter is Legendary Freeze is just convenient because about 10% of the time it'll get a freeze effect off on monsters, and since you are affecting them somehow in some capacity, that'll be nice. Or Dust, because it increases the damage you deal by a huge margin, and that means other people don't have to run it. Or Ash, same with the magic. So there's that. You can apply fetters. Yeah, you could, but your melee are always going to be doing that. Like, somebody is always applying vulnerability. So there's that. So just keep that in mind. For a build like this, it's pretty cool. I think that's pretty much it. Everything else looks really good. All right, so thank you for submitting your build for review. That's a cool build. I'm still happy with mine because this character is not a racial completionist. And also has a slightly different goal. I don't spend the points in the deep up here in the War Chanter tree, and I wouldn't even if I could. I like the spell dealy. This build, if I had more racial points, would not become that much better. Although I would, if I had all the racial points, I would get 5% quality hit points for free, which is kind of sick, plus a whole bunch of extra life. Also, why is Communion of Warding cost 2 each? I don't know. Somebody did that. Oh, what are you going to do? Yeah, it's a cool build. I like I said, the idea of going pure support is really neat. It's something that I can't personally commit to whenever I play the game, because I don't know if there will be... Like, I don't know if I can get a pure support character to run. You know what I mean? I don't know if I can join a party and be able to run that type of character. And that's why I like all my characters usually to have some type of damage or some type of thing on the side. So when I need to play, I can just play it and not have to think about, you know, who's around or what other things I'm grouping with. Anyway,